Well, I think the U.S. is wrong for putting this pressure on China. I think it's partly politics and American domestic politics that they have to do it. Actually, I think from an American perspective, as I look at it, America is better off by having a renminbi that's undervalued. Why? Because we get a lot of cheap goods made, and for the consumer's point of view, things are cheaper, a lot cheaper. And if you think of I think of economics as trying to help ultimately the consumers. And goods are a lot cheaper. If they raise the value, the prices are going to go up. So I think it's grandstanding. I don't believe from mainland China's perspective. 5 years ago, I had a discussion with the head of the Chinese central bank, and he asked my opinion, maybe just to be polite, and I said I didn't think at that point they should float the renminbi. Now I do believe, from China's point of view, and I'm not talking about from the American point of view, from China's point of view, I think it should be floated, maybe gradually, because I think it will rise. And why do I say that? I don't see, I think if the value goes up, the real wealth, the average Chinese person would go up. It would go up because their money would be more valuable in the international market. I think that's a good thing. Secondly, I don't see China's accumulated over $2 trillion worth of assets, bearing very low interest rate, typically. Some treasury bills are almost zero. Now, why should China be giving us, the rest of the world, but I'd say us, the United States, goods made with hard labor and capital, and taking in return pieces of paper that carry no interest rate? I mean, it doesn't seem to me, you have over $2 trillion worth of assets. I mean, that's a pretty big protection against future uncertainty. So I think as I analyze this international market, I don't see it makes sense for China to want to keep accumulating all these assets. And people say, well, China will have the U.S. over the barrel. I think it's just the opposite. If China is holding all these dollar-denominated assets, if we start inflating, look what happens to the real value of their assets. I think the U.S. will be holding China over the barrel as a result of that. So if I was China, I would allow the exchange rate to go up and eventually float it, and I would try to eliminate this tremendous accumulation of additional assets and try to cut down on some. And they're trying to diversify. They are, but it's a hard process. So I think the U.S. is foolish for putting this pressure on China. I think from the U.S. point of view, I think on the whole, certainly from the consumer point of view, we're better off with having a Chinese goods cheaper. But I don't understand, I mean, maybe it's my ignorance. I just don't see why that's a sensible policy for China.